Hello. Today I'd like to talk about the free market and the way that capitalists, talking about the rich, really look at what our economy really is all about. And a few of the problems I have now, first off, I want to say I truly am a capitalist. I believe in the capitalist society. I don't believe in the government should own all the land and the government should own businesses and all that. But the truth is, there has to be restraints on the systems, and I'd like to talk about why. One thing I would like to say that we talk about free markets, and the free markets truly are not really free. When you got the rich paying off politicians to follow their way of doing things, that they can just pad their pockets with money, fill their bank accounts with all the money they want, why the average everyday Joe just struggles. How is that supposed to be a good economy? That's not. That's basically just people in total control, and I'd like to explain in what way I mean that. First, I want to tell a story though. Once, about 10 years ago, I saw a story, and it was about this guy that had spent over 40 years in prison. And the show itself was about what it's like to try to live in the world free after you've been in prison for so long, the kind of things that they make adjustments and all that. And this guy, when he was like 19 years old, he killed a man in a drug deal that went bad. And it was all because he was addicted to drugs. His addiction was in total control. And when the guy asked him about what he had done, and believe me, this guy was like 6'3", big, huge black guy. I mean, this guy was like, he looked like an NFL, he could have been an NFL player. He was a big dude. And when they asked him about it, he just broke down and cried like, how could I do such a thing? This was like over 45 years later, and it still made him cry. It still tore him apart inside, which shows that's not who he really was. But his addiction had control of him. His addiction made him into a totally different person. And that's the problem. Addiction, it becomes all-consuming. Any kind of addiction. I don't care if it's addiction to cigarettes, addiction to heroin, addiction to whatever. Well, the problem is greed is addiction to money. And these people that are after this money are so massively addicted that they are totally out of control. They're totally out of control. They're just as bad as a heroin addict trying to feed his addiction. Every time these guys, the Koch brothers, the Walton family from Walmart's, all these people, Amazon, every time that they try to pay politicians to do the things they're doing, they're feeding their addiction. There's no difference between a heroin addict that puts a gun to your head and says, give me your money, and Jeff Bezos going to Congress and paying them to take more of our money. For the Koch brothers, the oil companies get $40 billion worth of our tax money just given to them. There's no difference between the Koch brothers paying politicians to give them our money and a heroin addict pointing a gun to our head and saying, give us your money. It's the same exact thing. It's addiction, and they're totally out of control. And that's why in a capitalist society, in a free market society, there's got to be regulations. That's what the New Deal was with FDR, was the regulations to stop people from being able to do criminal acts which oppress poor and working class people for the benefit of the rich. And it worked. It worked for over 40 years. America was doing great. Never once after the great deal, the big, that they made, did we have a crash in the economy. Not until Bill Clinton deregulated the banks. That set the stage for another depression, the Great Recession, they want to call it. Everybody wants to blame Bush, but Clinton opened the door for Bush to push it this far to make it happen. If they had not been deregulated, it never would have happened. And as long as we don't have the regulations to control these people, to control these criminals who are addicted, extreme addiction, and are out of control, the economy's never going to be stable, ever. Never. That's why we need the Glass-Steagall Act put back in play. We need all the regulations put back in from the New Deal. Or it's just going to end. Eventually the economy, anything that gets so top heavy is eventually going to come crashing down. And that's what's happening to our economy. We're getting so top heavy. All the money's going up and up and up. It's all going to come crashing down unless we put a stop to it, which I don't know how. As long as we got money in politics, as long as the rich can keep paying off the politicians, we're all in big trouble.